And here we have him. Peter Francis, how are you, mate?
Yeah, really well, Rocco. Thanks you.
Peter, thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure, Vince. Pleasure.
Welcoming us into your lovely home.
Yeah, welcome to see your home.
Here in Rosebud.
Great to have you here. Yeah,
on the Mornington Peninsula.
Rosebud, close to the beach. So.
Yeah, it must be a great lifestyle here.
Yeah, it is. We've been down here 3 years after sort of retiring from the AFL, and really enjoying it. Close to my wife's mother. She's only 600 metres away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's probably the reason
nice.
from the change from Gippsland down to here. But
yeah, you spent about
really
25 years there.
Yeah, 25 years. First 6 years coaching Gippsland Power and worked full time for the AFL in that period. And then the next 19 years I was talent manager, which is really, they call it talent manager, but it's general manager running the whole club. And I loved every minute of it. And we had some wonderful players come through that program that.
Any of them Carlton players?
Well, yeah, like
we've got a couple, haven't we?
we have. We've got the Coleman medalist in Harry Mackay, and obviously Sam Doherty, who was captain last year, and
inspirational.
So
just quickly on we've already gone in a different direction, but Sam Doherty, how inspirational is that bloke there to come back this year and see what he's done?
Yeah, no, it's just amazing. Like to come back from cancer twice, and it's hard enough to play AFL football as it is.
And a couple of very serious knee
injuries. Yeah, no, it's just an inspiration, and must be an inspiration to that team because what he's done is just absolutely amazing. Probably doesn't surprise me, given the type of boy he was at Gippsland Power. He was a real leader even then amongst the other boys. So. Yeah.
And hey, the way he's been going this year, would it surprise you if he won the best and fairest?
No, it wouldn't all be.
How good a result would that be, if Sam Doherty won?
I'd be really
That would be his second, by the way.
I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy with that. That'd be very close.
Well, you never know, because best and fairest reward players that don't necessarily get
100%.
35 possessions every game, but that sometimes they do their job, and he's very much done that, hasn't he?
Exactly.
It's been the general.
But the main thing we want him to do is win a premiership.
And
he did that with Carlton.
Very fortunate.
Very.
So let's get back onto you. Yes.
Yeah. So number 47.
Yeah.
Wow. We thought you were the only one who won a premiership with 47, but we discovered there was another player, wasn't there?
There was, yes.
Well, technically, you are the only number 47 to run out onto the MCG where people could see the 47 on your back.
Yeah, that's right.
Who's the other 47 that technically is part of a premiership team back in 1968?
Neil Chandler.
Yes.
Neil Chandler, who wore later number 22.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Yeah, no, I met Neil. We were made life members together at Carlton Football Club when they made premiership players.
That's right.
Life members, and a lovely fella, unfortunately.
Sadly now.
Passed away, just recently. And, it was a terrific player, but to get 3 premierships, 68, 70, 72, in only 60 or 70 games, it's a wonderful effort. Wonderful effort.
You started. How did you start footy? Did you always play footy?
I did. I started with
as a young kid.
I did. I started as a young kid. I was 11 years old, and I was probably a little bit later starter, but in those days I had to play in the under-15s at Heathcote.
So you grew up in Heathcote?
I grew up on a farm in Heathcote, about 14 kilometres.
That's interesting. Do you say Heathcote rather than Heathcote? Because I think most of us who don't live there or don't know the place that well say Heathcote, but it's interesting. Is that what the Heathcote people say?
Yeah, maybe they do. I'm not too sure. Look, it was a great life for me. I had 2 sisters, Kate and Sue, either side of me, so I was the middle son, and grew up on a farm. And actually, I barracked for St Kilda, and Heathcote were the Saints.
I was going to ask who you barracked for, so it was St Kilda.
Yeah, and I wore number 18.
It's amazing the team, some of the people we've interviewed.
Yeah, but I wore number 18, which was Cowboy Neil, and used to. My hero was Darryl Bulldog, number 4.
Right, That was a couple of
good Tassie boy.
Tough players,
Darryl Bulldog,
so especially Cowboy.
Cowboy Neil is even tougher.
Look out for him. And I used to run around. I had a place on the farm where I had 2 gum trees, and they were my goals. And and I used to pretend I was playing with St Kilda, and I was playing grand finals and games, and I kicked 20 goals, and I was a superstar and things like that. But I started.
Didn't every young kid practice
exactly. I'd be out there till dark, kicking the footy around by myself, and I'd wait for Dad to finish milking the cows before he'd come and have a kick with me and
How good
things
is that?
like that. Yeah, and but you know, I was really fortunate. I had Heathcote, and I went to school there and primary school, and then played at Heathcote. Dad was my coach, so we had a special, probably relationship in the under 15s, and I went through the under 15s, and then at 16 played senior football virtually straight away with Heathcote, and had a couple of years with Heathcote in the seniors in 16 and 17, and then went up to South Bendigo on permits to play, and I played half a year, and that's when I really sort of with South Bendigo and come under notice by Carlton and got invited down to have a few games on permits in the reserves as you did in those days, and come down and kick 4 goals in my first game against Essendon, and eventually stayed for the rest of the year. I signed with Carlton before that June deadline, and the end of June deadline, and played the rest of the year, and played in a final against Essendon out at Waverley, and then come down later in 76 in probably the November to settle into work. And
so you would have been, 18-year-old
I was 18 at that stage, and I think I was about 71 or 72 kilos, 6'1", same height, but really
72
light,
kilos
stick.
dripping wet.
Yeah, exactly. And then I come down, and my first couple of years I lived with Kenny Sheldon. We had private board for the first year in 77
He
down
lived in that
Preston.
area too?
Kenny was Midiamo boy.
Oh, Midiamo,
and we just ended up coming down together and had private board together the first year out in Preston with a lovely family, and they really looked after us. And so I played 77 in the reserves. I played a couple of under 19 games when my form fell away a little bit and things like that, but predominantly in the reserves. Then
was it exciting for you? Like, were you excited to be part of that?
Oh yeah.
No expectations about playing senior football at that stage?
No, not at all.
Who was your reserves coach?
At that stage, it was Hugh Mitchell.
Oh yeah,
And
Huey Mitchell.
he was terrific. And we had Chris Pavlo in the under 19s.
He used to be one of those around the groundsmen on 3Ks at his football.
Yeah, he did.
Remember that?
Yeah, no step.
I remember. I'm old enough.
But he was terrific. And then Chris Pavlo was the under 19s coach, and he was a great man. And
great man, Chris.
And a couple of times in that time, because I was still under 19, I would actually play in the reserves, and as soon as the siren went, they had a taxi outside the ground, and they would shoot you off to play in the under 19s, because the under 19s played at the same time as the seniors. So they'd shoot you off in a taxi, and they would start the game with 17 or 16 men, and a couple of us, might be Alex Marcoux or myself, would jump in a cab, turn up at Glenferrie Oval and play against Hawthorn. And
so you only got there maybe at the end of the first quarter or
something? Oh no, they might have been going 10 minutes or something like that.
So you quickly go
and you just pull your jumper. You already had the shorts and socks on. Pull your jumper on and you run out and into it. And
can you imagine that happening these days?
No, not at all. No, and it shouldn't have probably happened in those days. 2 games in one day was a no-no.
But you'd love it, wouldn't you?
1 week. Yeah, you did.
When you were a young kid, you could do 3 games.
Exactly. But I had a lot of injury that year, and looking back at my groin pain, and I know that it probably was OP. I probably overdid it, and just coming in, being young, and never done a pre-season before and things like that. So I did miss a lot of games.
A bit too much.
Yeah, exactly. And then we had the 78 pre-season. There was a changeover of coach. Ian Stewart come along.
Ian Stewart.
So hang on. So in your first 2 seasons, even though you didn't play senior football, the senior coach of Carlton was Ian Thorogood?
Ian Thorogood was the senior coach,
In 76, 77.
Yeah.
We didn't really do all that well under him.
No, they really struggled. They missed out on the finals. They really, from 72 onwards, they missed the finals a lot. And
we won 72, you mean after that?
Yeah, but after 72, sorry. After 72 through to... Really, that 79 or 78, they missed the finals. But Ian Stewart had done really well at South Melbourne.
Yes. How was that as a young kid? I've asked this a few players, and then Ian Stewart's your coach, right? And he's a triple Brownlow medalist.
St Kilda player that I remember. I buried for St Kilda.
But he won at least one of those Brownlows at Richmond.
He did.
Yep.
Yeah. No, two at St Kilda and one at Richmond, or the other way around, somewhere like that.
But there was definitely one.
Yeah, 1 and 1. Yeah, definitely one of
So
mine.
you get in there as a young kid and you got one of your idols.
Yeah, you just think
Did you think, oh, this guy's God?
Yeah, and look, I thought Ian Thorogood was God. I actually, I was that young, I used to call him Mr. Thorogood, and he'd say,
Oh, really?
yeah, I did. And he'd say, Peter, for God's sake, will you call me Ian? But I just couldn't bring myself to it.
Well, you're brought up to show respect.
Exactly. But Ian's come along, and we, I can remember we had a pre-season training camp down at Portsea. We stayed at the Portsea Hotel.
Right.
And we trained at Port Nepean Park. The old...
Right up the corner, right up the top.
Yeah, right down. Yeah, right down the tip there, and
basically army land.
There. Well, it was army. The army were there at that stage, and we were able to train there and do all our training on
the sand dunes and all that.
Yeah, and we did all that and things like that. But yeah, Ian come in, and he was pretty hard and
he was a hard
really,
coach.
yeah.
He was originally a Melbourne man, wasn't he? Ian Thorogood.
Ian Thorogood played for Melbourne, yes, and he may have even coached Melbourne at some stage.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Maybe Melbourne Reserves or something like that. But yeah, no, he was a good coach and a lovely man, and did a great job. But but we had Stewie, and he come on board, and in all honesty, I don't think he really liked me as a player.
Really?
I think that maybe as a fellow he didn't mind, but as a player,
I don't think he liked anybody. And when he came to Carlton, in all seriousness, I don't know anybody who's got a nice word to say about him.
Well, especially
at Carlton, I'm talking
about. Carlton,
Now, he might have lots of friends at St Kilda or Richmond, but a little bit like Mick Malthouse, it just seems to be like trying to mix oil and water with him and Carlton.
Yeah, I think so. And
he didn't last long.
No, he didn't. No, look, they didn't have a great start. I think he was there for 7 games, and they won 1 and lost 6. And as you know, Carlton
pretty brutal.
Well, especially in that period, they didn't tolerate losing. It was
actually, we had an interview with Peter Brown.
Yes,
who you played in the '79 premiership with. And he told us a few stories, didn't he, that time?
Oh, yes.
About Ian Stewart.
Well,
he
didn't get along either.
As well.
So,
so it's an interesting
But interestingly, as Ian Stewart was ready to give him the boot, or basically say you're out, you might as well find another club, some of the hierarchy at Carlton decided
to get rid of him.
No, well, they actually, one of the guys had an incident with Peter where Peter actually took him on a little bit, and he respected that.
It was
he liked him as a result of it. Was he the president?
I think so. Yeah,
might have been the president.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Jack Rout.
You're out. Yes.
Jack Rout was the chairman of selectors.
The chairman of selectors.
Yes. He was chairman of selectors, wasn't the president?
Yeah, and wanted to keep him.
And in the end, he had a bit of a stoush with him, and he liked the fact that Peter had a bit of go in him and actually stood up for himself, and he wasn't prepared to cop his rubbish.
Yeah.
And in the end, after knowing that Stewart wanted to get rid of him, he said, "There's a player that's been hard done by in this team, and he's going to play from now on, and it's Peter Brown." And Peter Brown didn't even expect it.
No. And a few weeks
later, then within the next week or two, and Stewart was gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the Peter Brown.
How was that? Ian Stewart, he's there for only 8 weeks, and then all of a sudden he's gone. You know what I mean? How was the feel around the club? Like, did you see it coming? Did you hear the rumblings?
There was rumblings that that he might go.
I think most of the players were actually happy about that decision.
Oh, look, I do, especially the senior players. I think so. There was talk that Robert Walls had broken his hand.
Well, that's the other one. Robert Walls had a real bad
relationship with him.
And Walls actually left before Stewart
ended up at Fitzroy.
Before Stewart was sacked.
Yeah, there was talk that Wolsey said had a altercation with him, and
he did.
That he broke his hand and ended up at
We've interviewed Robert too. He's told us all about it.
Oh, he has, has he? Yeah. And I remember one time he called.
Stay tuned for the interview with Ian Stewart to get the other side of the story.
Yeah, that's right.
And another time he called along at Sheila, and I don't think
really.
That was the sort of rumours that were going around and different things and.
Brucey wouldn't have taken too kindly.
No. Well, at the end of the day,
it would have been a
superstar
sensational story at the time when they sacked him. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it was a massive story, and And then, obviously Carlton.
Well, Serge initially as a sort of an interim type coach.
Caretaker coach. Yeah, and look, I was lucky enough at that stage. I'd actually started the year in '78 really well. I was playing centre forward, which was a bit of a foreign position for me. Predominantly I'd played as a wing or a centre.
Didn't they have someone like Mark McClure playing centre forward back then?
They did in the seniors, but I was playing centre forward in the reserves.
In the twos, right.
Yeah, in the twos. And to the year end, I'd kicked 32 goals, but I played in a night game against Richmond and I kicked 4 goals that night and had a pretty good night. I played on a half-forward flank and...
They were those fantastic nights and Tuesday nights, the escort.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. And
Channel 7 used to televise it live. And
I thought I might get a gig for my first game.
It was a really good way for young players like yourself at the time to really get seen and have some exposure and actually show your wares, wasn't it?
Most definitely. Most of the young players got their first game in a night game and then presented in a senior game. But the week after I thought I might get my first game and I didn't, and I wasn't happy. And as the season went, my form fell away a little bit, and I was by the last game, I was sitting on the bench for the reserves, and I was really worried. Jezza had taken over. The seniors were absolutely flying. They'd hardly lost a game.
He really did galvanise the team.
He did, and they were flying. They finished.
They finished 78 really powerful.
Yeah,
I don't think they made the finals, did they?
They did, but they went out in straight sets.
Okay.
Yeah, they had 2 finals and they lost both.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah,
they lost both of them, and I think
one of them was by a point or something.
It wasn't a lot,
Yeah.
but they they were flying. And it was a really hard team to get into, and I should have realised because. Looking back on it now, as a young, as you get older, you look back on your career and. That was my apprenticeship. I come from Heathcote. I hadn't done pre-seasons or done anything to really deserve to play easily. And Carlton was a big club, a powerful club, and to get in there, you had to serve your apprenticeship, and that was me serving my apprenticeship. And all of a sudden, I was getting a little bit bigger. But I think for me, after '78, I thought I'm in real strife here. I could get the chop. Because my form really fell away. I kicked 32 goals for the season, but
were you starting to think already about, what if I have to find another club?
But you kicked 32 goals and you still think your form was...
No, because of the way you finished the
season.
I just finished on a bit of a downer.
But this is playing in centre half forward, which wasn't your real
position.
Yeah.
But one of the things that happened
was... what saved you?
Well, what saved me was Alex Chislico.
Right.
And one of the things that I noticed about Alex, what he did as a player, that he got there to games early. He would be in the Heatley stand when the reserves started.
Right.
And he would watch for half a game.
So he's the senior coach?
No, he was a player at this stage.
Oh, this was a player. So this became before he became a coach.
77 and 78. He would be sitting up in the stand as
the first half of the game before he then got ready to...
Then he'd go down and get ready to play. So he had a really good knowledge of players
and how they were
and coming through. And he come to me in late October. I got a phone call from him, and he wanted me to come around to Carlton. He was full-time coach at Carlton.
Yep.
Come around. I want to have a meeting with you. And
that's straight away. You're thinking, here comes the axe.
Yeah, here comes the axe. And
did he call you?
He did. He called me at the bank. He rang me on the phone at the bank.
Ah, so you get a call.
You're right on the street. So I'm only 5 minutes from the club, and so I go around.
Could you feel the clouds circling above you?
I certainly could. Yeah, and I went into that meeting, and that was really a light bulb moment for me. And Alex sat me down. And he said, "Peter, I think you can play, but there's a few things that he said. I think you've got good speed, you've got great skills, but there's a few areas you need to improve on.
Okay.
You've got to get tougher, you've got to get bigger, and you've got to get stronger."
Right.
And he said, what I've done, he said, we're going to start training at the start of November.
Right.
So this was about halfway through October. We're going to start training.
By the way, before that, when did you normally start your pre-season training back in those days?
They could start December.
Right.
Something like that.
So he wanted to start early.
He wanted to start early. So this was the start of the team starting early training. And he said, we're going to start and it's going to be hard. But he said, on top of what, you've still got to get to our training 4 nights a week.
Right.
But on top of that, you'll be doing boxing 2 nights a week with Des Dogood at the Police Academy in Spencer Street.
That's on top of the 4 nights.
On top of the 4 nights, separate.
Wow.
Apart from the
And you'll
normal
be
training.
doing and you'll be doing weights 3 nights a week at the Melbourne Weightlifting Centre in North Melbourne. If you want to play,
That's what you got to do.
that's what you'll do, and
That's
you will do
full time,
it, and I'll know. And I said, yeah, I'm thinking. And now I worked in the bank where Carlton Bank,
Yeah.
and Carlton, the CBA bank at that stage, had a sponsorship with Carlton, and
Yes.
they were very good to me. The bank,
Right.
They let me out for training. So I
That's
would
a bit
go.
lucky, isn't it?
Yeah, I was lucky. I would go, leave at 3 o'clock, go to either North Melbourne or Spencer Street,
Yep.
do my weights or my boxing, and then I would go and be at Carlton by 5 to start training for that night, 4 nights a week. And I religiously did it. I thought I would hate the boxing. I ended up, I actually loved it.
Yeah.
I still couldn't fight, but I thought I
But it
could.
made you fit, though.
And it gave me confidence.
That's
Yes.
it.
I went from 71 or 2
Yep.
kilos to 79
Good.
with the weight, lifting the weights.
Yep.
I did it right through Christmas, after
Was there
Christmas.
things like eating programs, like diets and
Yeah,
stuff they put you on as
yeah.
well?
Alex
Wow.
brought in a
Lots of
dietitian.
protein?
I can tell you another story about that. But she had a dietitian. Anyway, the dietitian come back to Alex and we had to write down what we ate and drank for a week
Yep.
and then present it to the dietitian.
Right.
She come back to Alex and she said, Alex, we've got a real problem here at this club. He goes, what's the problem? He said, most of your players are nearly alcoholics. The amount of alcohol that they drink, we need to do something about
I can
it.
imagine
And
it.
you're the worst one.
Alex was the worst one.
Well, they love the
Well,
beer,
he would have
but-
said, okay, let me worry about the alcohol side of things.
Yeah.
What about food?
That's right.
Yeah, but no, her name was Louise. I can't remember her other name.
Right.
But yeah, we had a dietitian. So it was really starting to get into...
Alex
Professional.
was ahead of his time.
He was ahead of his time, yeah. And when I tell you more about him,
Yep.
you will believe it
Sure.
as a coach, because
Yep.
I think there's some untruths out there that he wasn't a good coach.
Right.
But he was a brilliant coach, especially for a young player like me.
Yep.
So then I went and did all that. I did it right through Christmas, did all their Christmas program. We had a program over Christmas where we were off for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep.
We could go home.
But then you're back
come
into it in January.
Yeah, back into it in January,
Yeah.
and away we went.
Yeah.
Did that.
So let's talk about post 78. You see, we had your meeting with Alex. He's basically said, I'm gonna show some faith in you so long as you
Yeah.
do all these things.
Things.
So did you walk away from that feeling inspired?
Yeah.
That, I
Most
really
definitely.
want to.
I really want to play.
Really wanna
This
play.
guy's got my back.
Yeah.
If I do everything,
I want to break down big balls for him.
I'll give myself the best chance.
Yeah.
I know other players would have told you about the training.
And you hadn't played a senior game yet,
I hadn't
of
played a
course.
senior game
Yeah.
except for the night game.
Yep.
But
They told us.
yeah,
It was brutal.
The training, everything they told us is true,
Yep.
and I can tell you a little bit
Yep.
more about that.
Yep.
But we started and we got in. We did the training, and the training was unbelievable. Like the 800s, the 400s,
Really tough.
the 200s, and the
Made you
4K
fit, though.
time trials. And if you couldn't make under 15 minutes in that 4K time trial, you just kept coming back and back night
Until you
after
did.
night, and do it again until you made it.
Yeah.
And then you were considered fit enough to train with the
Yeah.
team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you still had to
So
come
in
back.
other words, if you didn't do it in a certain amount of time,
Yeah,
come
so
back and do it again.
What he
And
was
then
doing,
do it again.
but what he was doing was making us mentally tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And toughing us up, and
Yeah.
it's what I needed.
Not
as
only
well.
that, but physically fit
Stuff,
too. Good,
yeah,
really
but
fit.
mentally, yeah. And by that time, the weights had sort of slowed down, the boxing,
Yeah.
and because training was ramping up. And
Did you actually have a 21st birthday party at the start of that year?
no, I didn't. I didn't. I
It's 1979.
just had it with my girlfriend, who
Yeah,
is
yeah.
my wife now,
Yes,
and
yes.
mum and dad and my sisters, and
Right.
just a quiet night
Yeah.
at home. But
Yes.
and we started into the practice matches. Now, the first practice game, I remember this
Yep.
79 season so vividly.
It's like it was yesterday.
Yeah. The first practice match was outside Princess Park because cricket had the
Yes.
main oval.
They did.
We played outside, and it was between ourselves.
Right. Like an intra-club game.
Intra-club game. I played on a wing, and I had a poor day. and I didn't play well. The next week we get to Thursday night, sides are read out. I'm not in.
Right.
I'm in. So intra-club game, I'm in against the under-19s.
Oh,
So they had an under-19 game and some of the leftover seniors, because you had a lot of players trained.
Yeah.
I'm in that game. I went up and I said, "What's going on, Alex?" He goes, "Well, you didn't play well enough. You know, you need to show me you're going to play well." I said, "Well, you give me a chance and I will." And anyway, I
This
went
is real
away.
moment of
I wasn't
truth,
there.
okay.
I went away, and 5 minutes later, he said, "Peter, come here." Kenny Sheldon had gone to him and said, "I can't play. I'm injured." Which Kenny and I lived together, but
Wow.
he was injured.
Right.
But Kenny
He didn't
and I
just
lived
do you a
together.
favour.
No, he didn't do me a favour. He might have. I'll have to ask him. But
Yeah.
You probably thought to yourself, why didn't I think of this?
exactly. And he called me over. He said,
Yeah.
"Peter, you're lucky you're in. Kenny Sheldon's pulled out. You're in." And I said, "I hope I play against you too. I hope I'm on you," because he was playing.
Alex, of course.
Yeah.
Captain and coach.
You-
And he didn't
you
say
said that to
anything.
him?
I said that to him.
Oh,
And he
wow,
didn't
that's
say
it. I
anything.
love that.
Geez, what prompted you to say that?
Oh, I just think I was so determined that I had
Right.
to show him.
In other words, I want you to see how I'm playing because
Yeah.
you're actually playing on me.
Yeah, and guess what?
You
You
played.
did.
I lined up on a half-forward flank on the great Alex Zizelenko.
And he's playing half-back flank.
He's playing half-back flank.
So the onus is on you to
Yeah.
really turn things on, isn't it?
I kicked 3 goals. And he took himself off at half-time to watch. I had a really good half.
Great.
And
You know who else had a great game in a practice match against Alex Zizelenko?
No.
Wayne Johnson.
There you go.
Remember
Yeah,
that?
on half-forward flank. Yeah, oh, look,
He told us the
killed him.
story too.
Yeah.
4 on
But
him.
anyway,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
kicked 4 or 5 goals
Goals
on
on
him.
him.
Chesa
Yeah.
said, "Yep, I want him."
Yeah, and he would have been,
That's
and it would have been,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'll show you. And,
Yeah, for sure.
But but Alex would have taken himself off to have a look
So
at the
that
game
practice
anyway.
match was
So-
crucial.
Yeah,
crucial.
but it was critical to me. And the
Gee
next
whiz.
week we trained.
Yeah.
I thought I'll get a gig. They're playing South Fremantle in Western Australia.
Oh, right.
So the main team of 25 or so were flying over.
They had
I
almost
did-
like Sydney Swans type Guernsey.
Yeah, they
South
did.
Fremantle?
They did. Yeah, they
red
did.
and white?
Yeah, red and white. Anyway, not in. Pete Francis
Again?
not called out. In against the leftovers of the reserves and the under-19s. Back on the little ground again outside Princess Park. The Carlton go over. I played a 10-half forward on Swan Mackay. Kicked 4. Had a good game. I was dirty as hell. Carlton got flogged. Thank
Over
God.
in the West.
Thank God. Thank God. Over in the West.
You know why? Because it was probably just a junket that they all went over there and
Exactly.
had a party.
Exactly. And it was probably 40 degrees in West Australia. And,
Yeah.
and anyway,
That's
they come back.
self-preservation a bit, isn't it? Because
Football is that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, as much as everyone's your teammates,
Teammate.
you're actually
Yeah.
you're
Playing
competing
for
against
yourself.
them as
Of
well.
course.
Yeah, yeah,
At the end of the day, it's a
Competition
dog eat
for
dog.
spots. Yeah.
It's a dog eat dog well.
Yeah,
and
that's
I used to say that to
It
the
probably
Gippsland
was
Cowboys.
42 degrees early in the year in
Exactly,
Perth,
exactly.
because it can get really
Well,
hot
the
there
next
in
year
summer.
we went over again, and I was on the trip, and it was 40.
It was
Yeah,
hot.
they-
Yeah, but they got 4.
so you kicked up, what did you say you kicked 4 on
4
Swan Mackay?
on Swan Mackay.
That's a good effort.
And
I
that
don't-
was in
I
a
don't think Swan was
leftovers
trying,
versus
no.
I don't care.
I think Swan was just fudging around a little.
I don't care. I
Swan was getting to the last 2 or 3 years of his
He
career.
was, yeah,
But
but-
I don't
Great
care.
player.
That's
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
goals.
So the next week we're playing Hawthorn, last practice match before round
round 1.
1, which is round 3,
Yes.
standalone game at AFL Park.
Yep.
We're playing Hawthorn. Jezza comes to me during the week. Peter, you'll be in. You're going to play. You'll start on the bench. You'll probably come in on a wing and have play a half, something like that.
Yep.
I said, you beauty. So I come on about halfway through the second quarter, played on Rodney Eade, had a really good second half to the game, and
Yep.
so we trained. Jezza came to me on the Tuesday night, as he always did, and he said, we're thinking of playing you this week. We think you'll be in, you're a real chance. Just train well, make sure. So that was before training on the Tuesday, so I made sure they read the team out on Thursday night, and on the bench.
Right.
I think with Vinny Katogia, I can't remember.
Right, okay.
Alex Marcoux,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was Wayne Johnson, Alex Marcoux, Robert Klomp,
And so what round is this in the season?
This is round 1, but it's round 3.
How does that work?
We played a standalone game. Round 1 was the next week. So Essendon and Carlton were the only game they played a week before.
Oh,
so round 3 game was brought back. So there was 80-odd thousand people at Waverley.
Right.
There's no other football.
Okay.
And
so it's like pulling a game out of round 3 and putting it at the start of the season.
Yeah. And we went away on the round 3 game. We went away on a camp.
Wow.
Right.
I didn't even know they did that. Like,
No,
that's
I don't
good.
recall that. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
And that camp
And of course
was
not.
to Queensland.
Oh,
So while the others were playing, we went to Queensland.
Nice.
so that was the same year that guys like Alex Marcoux started their VFL career.
Yeah.
I think Robert Klomp might have started his VFL career that year.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
There's one other I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, a lot of players. And
Maybe Peter McConville.
No, Macca I think was 78. He played a lot of 78. Yeah.
But anyway, we had a few. Oh, Wayne Johnson. Wayne Johnson was
Wayne Johnson. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Because he had a premiership at Paran in 78.
That's right.
And then he played with us in 79.
Yeah. So, but the good part, And I come on halfway through the third quarter, played on Alan Reid, who'd come across from Western Australia, red-headed wingman, had 12 or 13
What is it about
touches.
red-headed wingman? We've got one now called Cottrell.
That's right, exactly.
In fact, he's almost got the same number as you.
Oh,
He would have been better advised to take 47 instead of 46.
He should have.
Anyway.
Yeah, and had 12 or 13 touches and, was sort of set. But getting back to Alex said to me, Peter, he come to me and said on the Thursday night afterwards, one of the things that's going to happen from here on in is I will tell you who you're going to play on, if you're in the team, who you're going to play on, what your role will be, and how I want you to play.
Right.
Now, if you do that and don't deviate away from it, you will play in my side. You deviate away from playing your role, you'll be out like that.
Even if you go and kick goals or
deviate away. So every
it's interesting.
Thursday night, I knew exactly who, and I predominantly played on the wing.
What do you mean how to play? Like
how to play?
Like you said,
whether that be as a defensive wingman or as a attacking wingman.
Okay.
Who I would play, and he might say to me, look, this week you've got Michael Turner.
Yeah.
If Michael Turner only gets 6 kicks and you get 7, I'm happy.
Okay.
So make sure you don't allow him. He had a plan for every player and how he wanted you to play. So I knew that week I had to make sure that I wore Mick Turner like a glove.
Yep.
So there'd be times where I could have won the ball, but I might not have gone because I was worried.
You're worried about him.
I'd be worried about Turner. So, but it didn't matter because all Alex was worried about was I was looking after my man and the others would do the job.
Yep.
And whatever
as long
role
as you blanketed him, there was other rovers
that was helping the team. To get the job done.
Yep.
Whatever it took.
Whatever it took to win. Yeah, exactly. But don't deviate away from it, otherwise you'll lose your spot.
Wow.
I sort of did that against Richmond for one game, and I was out.
Really?
You did.
So I missed one game of 79, and it was about the round 4. And I know I stayed in the week after against Geelong, and I come in against Richmond, and I was in the team, and I didn't play well. And Brian Wood, my player who I was supposed to played well, and I was hedging my bets. And
you were trying to win some ball yourself, even though he was getting it.
Yeah, and the next week I was out, and it was a lesson I think for me.
Yeah.
I went back. I played well in the reserves, and to his word, I was back in, and I didn't lose my spot again. But I think it was Alex saying, "Hey, I told you so.
Yeah.
Make sure you stick to the plan."
He was on to you, wasn't he?
He was. But
he must have been like that with everybody, though.
He must have been, and
because it was a very disciplined team.
It was a really disciplined team.
It really was. Like if you look at the games of '79,
well,
that team was so disciplined.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think they lost 3 games?
3 games, by under a goal.
Well, there you
all
go.
By under a goal.
Yeah.
So we're really like the North Melbourne game could have went either way. Yeah. Geelong was 5 points. I think North was 4 points, and it was goal for goal.
Yeah.
The other one was Collingwood, which wasn't a big margin. And
the week after that losing was the training twice as hard?
Oh, the training, it was. Just getting back to the training, the training was incredible. It was just, I would play sore. Not from
the previous week's game.
No, it was from the training. The training was relentless, and it was 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
And it was Monday night, where it was, not massively solid. Tuesday night was always solid. It was contesting, it was match practice, whatever it'd be, and there'd be a lot of running. Wednesday night was voluntary. You could come, but as a young player, the older players were virtually told.
Was that a test?
It was Wednesday night voluntary.
You could come if you wanted to, but if you didn't want to, you didn't have to. I went every Wednesday because Jezza was there, and it was just a skill night, just to hone your skills, do a little bit extra.
In other words, show me that you're going to go and do that extra mile.
Who didn't come?
Oh, the older players who had families and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So,
had a few credits in the bank.
And I would have exactly. And I would think Alex would have allowed them not to, looking after them and those sort of things. But there'd be still 15 or 20 blokes there.
Southby probably.
Yeah, that's right. And then Thursday night was a little bit shorter and sharper, and
just tune up, a bit of a
tune up for the weekend. But you'd still be sore from the Tuesday night, and especially
but
if we
Tuesday
lost.
night, you're still getting over a few injuries from the game. I mean,
exactly.
It's only 72 hours after a pretty
rigorous game. Exactly. And but
Alex was relentless.
But for me, no one after that season, no one could hurt me.
Right.
It toughened me for the rest of my career, and it was that mental toughness that he put into you, and I took that away to Gippsland Power.
Of course you would,
into my training as a coach and with St Kilda and those sort of things, because it is good for young players. They come into us as under 18 boys. Never done pre-season, and a lot of them play straight away now when they come into the AFL system from the NAB League or CAC Cup, what it was. But they get what I didn't get as a player. And when I look back now, if I'd had that at that age, then I might have played sooner. Yes. But I didn't. But now those
these
boys
are the lessons that we pass on to the next generation.
Exactly, Vince. Yeah.
Did he ever for want of a better word, weaken in that stance at any stage and might maybe give you a night off or reward you for a great game the previous Saturday? Geez, you beat Hawthorn by 85 points on the weekend. Great work, boys. We'll give you the night off, or not necessarily the night off, but we'll take it easier on you this Tuesday, or or was it just tough every Tuesday, and if you lost, it was even tougher?
Yeah, well, it was that, Vince. Like he would say,
did he penalise you? Did he actually punish you?
He did. If we were down on games, games, it'd be 3/4 time. We might be 3 or 4 down.
And he'd threaten you.
He'd threaten you. And so, you know what's going to happen on Tuesday night? And we were a long way down against Geelong at Cardinia Park at 3/4 time. Yeah. And he said, "Win, lose or draw, you're going to cop it."
Win, lose or draw.
I heard that too.
We tried to win, but we couldn't. We didn't. We nearly got over the line, but we knew we were going to cop it.
Was that game that Larry Donahue kicked the bag of goals?
He probably did. I can't remember, Vince.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Exactly. But
Cardinia Park, that was another. Jeez, it was terrible going down there.
Yeah, no, but he was, he was relentless as a coach. But for me as a young player, Alex Cieslinko, I love him. Yeah. Even now, he was God to me, and he was, I will always be indebted and forever indebted to Alex Cieslinko and the Carlton Football Club for giving me that opportunity. Yeah. Even though, halfway through 81, I was given my marching orders.
Well, we'll touch on that in a minute, but we want to talk about 79 first before we jump to 81.
Yeah, I haven't hold a grudge, so, because that's football, and that's what happens all the time. And
well, it's great to see the gratitude there. I mean, obviously, you've thought about all this over many years now, and seen that you've got Alex Cieslinko to thank in a big way for the opportunity.
Nothing's personal, isn't it?
That's
it shouldn't be personal.
It's not. It's just a decision they have to make at that time, and they think that's the right decision. Yeah. Right or wrong. Yeah. in their minds it's the right one.
Apart from me and Stuart, that was personal.
Yeah.
When
But
did you
I
feel-
honestly think you were talking about Brownie getting the chop. I thought Ian Stewart would get rid of me, and even partway through that season, I don't think I would have played AFL footy or VFL footy at that stage.
If he had stayed,
if
maybe.
it wasn't, if he had stayed, maybe. Who knows?
I think a lot of careers got saved by the axing of Ian Stewart and the introduction of Alex Jeslinko as the coach.
He's a fascinating character, isn't he? I like to. Yeah. When did you feel you're part of the side and you? Yeah. When did you feel like
entrenched?
Right.
I'm entrenched now. I'm part of the first team, and I'm here to stay.
Never.
Must have been.
I love it.
Oh, no, I'm not.
79. You were a great player in 79.
You know what?
79.
That was your first season of senior.
You know how many
but-
players have said that?
Yeah, I know. That's
They never feel safe.
Yeah.
I never. I always played on the edge. Right from my career, and I had 5 or 6 seasons
So
where I
did you have
never played in
butterflies
reserve.
before every game?
Yeah,
thinking,
I was-
"Shit,
I was
if
a
I don't
shocking-
perform here today, I could be out."
Shocking. Yeah, I'd always be really nervous. And look, if you wanted to talk about grand final day, obviously we had the final, the qualifying final against North Melbourne, and I had Wayne Schimmelbusch that day, and I knew I had to
What a
play
player.
and negating. Keith Gregg was out with a broken arm.
He was another great player.
Yeah, so Michael Young was told he had Stan Alves.
Yes.
I was told Ashy went out of the side, Rod Ashman, and Youngie come in. Ashy was injured. Youngie come in and played a great game on Stan Alves, and I had Schimmelbusch. Shimmer
What was the
probably on the
instructions
day
there?
was to keep him quiet.
That's it.
Shut him down. He had a few more touches than me.
Yeah.
I probably had 14 or 15,
Yeah.
but he probably had 19 or 20.
Sure.
But he wasn't dangerous. They weren't.
There was no impact.
No, he didn't have that impact that
Yeah.
he normally could have. Where he kicked 4 or 5
My word.
and things like that. And he was a dangerous player.
Yeah.
And so my role was to do that on that day, and I felt that, and Alex said to me that he felt I played my role and done a good enough job. So I was felt secure that I would get a game in 2 weeks' time in the grand final.
Because it was a week.
So that was the second semi-final.
Yeah, they called it qualifying, I think, didn't they?
Because they had qualifying final in
because it was
week
a
1.
final 5.
Yeah.
Final 5, so they have elimination final.
Yeah. And a qualifying final.
Week 1 qualifying. So
did we finish top of the ladder? We would have had a week's rest.
we had a week's rest.
So we would have played the second semi-final.
Second semi, you're right, Vince, sorry. You're right. The qualifying final, we went and watched that as a team
Yes,
right.
at the MCG.
Yes. The top team always did that.
Yeah, the week
We'd go and see second
let's
and
go
third.
and watch who you're going to go and play.
Yeah.
That's right. And then, you're right, sorry.
4th and 5th play each other and eliminated.
Yeah,
that becomes an elimination final.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so we played North Melbourne.
So we had 2 weeks. I had a little bit of a sore ankle and I strapped my ankle.
Right.
And I never strapped my ankles.
Right.
In that final. Anyway.
in the 79 grand final?
No, in that second semi.
In the second semi, right?
I strapped my ankle.
Right.
Unbeknown to me,
Playing against Wayne Schimmelbusch.
Yeah, I had an allergic reaction to the tape.
Oh, no way.
So all of a sudden, I had these pimples on my ankle that got infected, went into my groin, got an infection in my groin. So I was getting penicillin injections, about 3 of them in my bum. Felt like I had a cork in my bum for the week.
What happened in your groin?
Well, the poison went up and into your groin, and so
and what your skin became blotchy, and
you have a sore groin, and from the infection.
Your wife probably went up and said,
I had 2 weeks, so the doctor kept putting penicillin into me and cleared it up.
It did.
So I didn't train hardly at all leading up the first week before the game, but the second week I trained.
Right.
And leading up to that, training, I can't remember, but I think it was reasonably light. It was just really getting ready for the grand final. Can't remember a lot about the week. There was a good crowds watching training most nights.
Yeah, there would have been,
Yeah, a lot of people there.
Yeah.
The old selection committee were there, the selectors, as they were every other.
Yes.
those guys that turned up every training night. But I do remember Alex telling me after the team was read out, we had a team meeting, and I was to take Graham Anderson
Yep.
So Michael Young had to take Ricky Barham. He had him.
Yep.
And later on, he phoned me.
He was about, I think he was 21, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He kicked 5 from a wing against Fitzroy.
Yes.
2 weeks prior to that. And
Playing on?
I don't know. No.
Wasn't Lee Carlton, was it?
No, it wasn't Lee. No, Lee was at Collingwood still. At that
he was at Collingwood still, right.
He played in the grand final with Collingwood.
Right, there you go.
He was on the bench.
Right.
And then he kicked 3 on Keith Bragg in the preliminary final.
Right.
And
very dangerous player.
He was very dangerous and kicking him off a wing. So he kicked 8 in the last 2 games.
So how did you feel going into the ground?
Alex said to me that I had to make sure that I was between him and the goals at all times.
Yep.
And there were a few times where, again, I thought I could get the ball, but
in other words, don't let him get goal side.
Because what he would do, Alex said to me, he'll try and get goal side and sneak away from you and get on his own as much as he can. Make sure you're very aware of him, but get off him when you can, because he won't chase you.
Right.
Oh, so he gave you a little bit of a freedom.
Alex knew he did his homework.
He did, yeah. So he knew the opposition.
Did you know all of this about him before Alex
Carlton? Because I'd watched him a little bit,
yeah.
And he said, "But when you can, get off him, because he won't respect you at all."
And just run.
And run. And so, I was fortunate enough to get a couple of kicks on the day, and lucky enough.
What are you talking about?
Lucky enough to get a couple of kicks.
You were the best player on the ground in that, especially in that first half.
Wayne Harms is the best player on the ground.
Well, I think Wayne Harms reckons he was pretty lucky to win the most.
No. Wayne will say that, but honestly, Vince, we don't have Wayne Harms. We don't win the game. He had impact. He impacted the game.
But you kept us in the game when we were actually.
You had a great first half.
And can I tell you,
it was
Wayne
when
Harms,
we were actually struggling in the game that you, and most of the players agree, that you really played your role on that wing beautifully, and you actually kept us in it.
Yeah, and I think I was the link player.
Yeah.
Yes.
Between the backs and the forwards, which what a wingman really does.
That's what a wingman is.
Yeah, I think I linked really well that day and was able to get off Graham a bit and things like that, and set up a little bit of play, which is really your role.
Of course.
But Wayne Harms, the player that he was the Gary Ablett of our era.
100%.
He was
pound
just
for pound.
he was sitting there.
Is there any better player in terms of impact in a game?
No. He come to that Melbourne weightlifting centre with me, and the blokes who were doing, they were muscle, they were weightlifters, and they put him on the bench press and said, lift this big weight. Wayne just, they said, mate, you're in the wrong game. You need to do weightlifting. Like he was pound for pound. Yeah. He was a little.
He could kick left and right. Enormous kick.
I love the way he marked the ball. It was always one grab. He was just brilliant.
Yeah, no, he was super player. And really, look, if Wayne could have got himself fully fit, he always struggled to. He had different little injuries. He did, and but Wayne Harms fully fit, no one could go with him.
No.
He in the centre and things. So, like you said, he impacted like no one. We've gone from 5 goals down to in front within 10 minutes.
That's what happened.
After he moves into the centre. Yeah. So he changes the whole game around.
He does. And he did a few things in that centre. Like everyone remembers the tap. Back, but he done a few things in that centre that were incredible, especially after that tap. He reckons there was one bit where he roved off the ruck and then he kicked it to the boundary, and so you're right, he was the big changer.
No,
where were you when he did that? Kick off the side of the boot and then chased it before it went over the boundary line.
I'm always disappointed with this part.
Right, why
Vince.
is that?
Well, I started that piece of play and I don't get any credit for it. I got a dodgy free kick in the back pocket.
Oh, really?
And I kicked the ball down to Trevor Keogh and those guys.
Yes.
So I started that bit of play and then it got knocked out and Wayne got it and went down and hit it in Kenny Sheldon. So I should take the reward for starting that piece of play.
Well, you're a goal assist.
I was a goal assist. I'll take that one.
Harmsy was the goal assist because Kenny Sheldon
He's part of the league.
Exactly.
He's part of the league.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take a goal assist.
That's like David Mackay taking the credit for Alex Jeslico's mark in the 1970 grand final. Remember? Mackay on the grandstand wing.
That's right.
Kicks it up and Jeslico.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's the one who kicked the ball to him. But
Yeah.
That's true. I like that little stat. That was a good one.
Yeah. But
so you were in the back. So you were in the back pocket at the time.
At that stage, I got a free kick for a guy holding the ball.
Right.
And I kicked it down, and then that piece of play went on, and and Wayne got it, kicked it out, bang, hit it in.
Wet, muddy, sloppy.
Yeah.
The ground was in shocking condition.
It's funny, Vince, you talk about that, but I woke up that morning.
I was going to ask you, but how did you feel about
I was always nervous before games.
Right.
It was a really strange day because an evening, it rained all night.
Yeah.
I slept like a baby.
Right.
I slept really, really well.
Okay.
It must have been the first time I felt comfortable. We didn't have a game. I wasn't going to get dropped the next week. Last game of the year.
You can actually go out and show what you can do.
You know, and I love playing
Maybe
in
that's
front
one
of
of the
big
reasons
crowds.
you played so well, because you didn't have that threat of, if I don't play well today, I'm not going to get a game next week. This is the last game.
I don't know. Yeah, it's the last game of the year.
Yeah.
I got up, pouring rain, you know, and it probably evened the game out a little bit, even though I always think that skilled players should be better in the wet. You know, they say that you know, it brings everyone equal.
Down to some extent.
Yeah, but I think if you're skilled, you should be even better again in the wet as being a skilled player. But I went to, you know, I woke up, I was at that stage, I was living with my sister Sue and in Reservoir, you know, just a little flat. Robin and I were going out.
It's interesting, he lives in Reservoir and you called it Reservoir, you didn't call it Reservoir.
No, we know, mate. The old timers know, mate. It's Reservoir.
And I went over and picked my girlfriend up, who is now my wife, Robin, and Sue in the car, and we drove to the MCG and parked there. And I remember not being nervous and walking around from the car park and people, you know, just saying good luck and things like that. The under-19s played, the reserves played the night before that game. And the under-19s were playing. Had a little bit of trouble for some reason getting in the ground. I don't know if I forgot my ticket or whatever, but somehow the girls got me in.
You had tickets then?
Yeah.
To get into the ground.
To get into the ground.
But you didn't need one.
No, but I had trouble getting in.
Right.
Anyway, finally the bloke believed me.
Well, you know what happened? Brownie, Peter Brown,
Yeah.
and Wayne Harms got there together. But Brownie, you know, we're playing, we don't need tickets. And Harms was like, well, I was going to use this. And they said, no, you don't need it. Well, what am I going to do with it? And some bloke came past and said, I'll offer you $200 for it. He said, done. He grabbed the $200.
Oh, maybe I gave it to Robin or something.
Anyway,
I got into the ground and I don't remember a lot. You know, a lot of it is vivid, but there's lots that you forget about in the rooms before the game. I can actually remember sitting in and Alex talking to us. We were in the Melbourne rooms, and I can remember that. But the biggest part, the most vivid part that I remember is running out and down the race.
Yeah.
And the roar of the crowd and the balloons going up.
Yeah.
I never know how to explain this feeling.
Right.
But I felt like I was walking on air.
Wow.
Or running on air. And I ran on the MCG, but I didn't feel like I was touching the ground.
Yep.
And it was the
on cloud nine, literally.
Yeah, it was the most amazing. And it brings...
uplifting experience.
We're giving me goosebumps. I'm thinking about it.
I get all goosebumps on me now.
Just talking about it, because it's the way I felt, and I just felt so good. I felt that, you know, I would play okay and that the team were going to go okay. And
and then quarter time that
week.
week.
And a quarter time, all of a sudden, gee whiz, what's going on here? This is not going to plan.
No. But you never gave up. I think you were talking to one of the players recently from the '79 grand final who said we were just convinced we were going to win that game.
Well, Harmsy said...
Was it Harmsy?
Harmsy said when I spoke to him, he said we were never going to lose the '79 grand final.
That's who it was.
I know that we only won by 5,
Yeah.
but we were conditioned that we were never going to lose that game. That's how he felt. So I'm wondering if did.
Yeah, I just look. I can't remember honestly.
Yeah.
I don't remember too much about you know, I can remember that sort of final bit, and I knew we were only 5 points in front, and
But that
I
feeling
was
you
probably
just
hoping
described-
for the siren more than anything.
Yeah.
But that feeling you just described, did that sort of tell you, this is my moment, this is
I think-
what
well,
I've been playing for?
It's funny, Vince, you say that, because I went to the 78 grand final. I sat right up in the top
This is the North Melbourne Hawthorn
game.
Yeah,
with my brother-in-law, who's married to my older sister, Kate, Tony Barry.
Right.
And I said to Tony, I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this one day. I was watching that
Wow.
game. And
The very next year?
the very next year, it happened.
Wow.
So, you know, I think I'd probably set my sights, you know,
Yeah.
well and truly from that grand final in
And
78.
how did you feel when the final siren went, you were 5 points in front?
It's
Like,
relief.
it is relief, and
Yeah.
and I think, you know, it's something that I'd always dreamed about doing as a little boy, pretending I was Darryl Bulldog and you know, running around the farm and things like that. That
Everyone
goes
says relief,
through
but there
and-
must be a sense of joy as well,
and I
like
think, you know,
real joy, just
Yeah.
so happy.
and you know, you think of your mum and your dad.
Yeah.
You know, my dad coached me, and you know, I'm probably getting a bit emotional, but you know, my
that's
two
all right.
sisters
Yeah.
and Robin, and you know, everyone that sort of helps
Supported you
along that way,
because you know, it wasn't an easy path.
No, of
and
course.
people think it is. It's bloody hard.
Yeah.
And
And-
you can never do it on your own.
You can't, and you know, if it wasn't hard, everyone would do it.
Of course.
Exactly.
And that's why it is AFL footy or VFL footy
Yeah,
at that stage.
yeah.
It is hard, and it's set there to be demanding and hard.
Of course.
You know,